I want to ask myself is, what are you guys here for? What do you want? And I've almost imagined, what it is that you guys are desired for. And you're not just the education, about your equipment and what's in it, but my imagination of what you want is when that emergency hits, no matter what it is, storm, flood, anything, fire, you want to turn around, you want to push that button, and you want to go deal with the other 10,000 things that the upper management is yelling at you, they want results right now. You don't want to sit there and push that button and turn and, what the, it's screwing up on you. I believe that's why you guys are here. Before I start also, I want to say thanks to Prime Power. I've been working in conjunction and for Prime Power for about 5 years. I've been in business about 7 years, Advanced Fuel Services. And in that time, our reputation, that's all you all have in business is reputation. Ours is, thank goodness, it's way up there. So at 7 years, we kind of got a choices of who we work with and who we work for. I love working with Prime Power. They're a top-notch group. Everybody I've ever dealt with here. And I plagiarized something off, just real short off the internet last night I saw. It's an immutable law in business. Promises are promises. Explanations are explanations. But only consistent, superior performance demonstrates reliability and integrity. And I honestly think, I don't have to think, I know Prime Power has that. And I'm very proud to work with them.
Check's in the mail now.
All right, thanks, brother.
Yeah, thanks for that, bud.
Yeah, I was going to say some good things about ALS too. I've been working with them for a lot of years, and maybe I'll get a discount over there, but they're top-notch also. They've got some great people over there. Please excuse my vulgar display of commercialism up there, but I walked into somebody's office, actually 2 offices this last year and this year, and saw my photographs up on somebody else's wall without any acknowledgement, and I really wasn't happy. Because we take a lot of time, we try and document. I can go back to 2004 and document every tank we've ever done. Basically, let me tell you what we do. We clean tanks. We work on the integrity of your tank, making sure it's clean, beautiful fuel. We filter, polish fuel, and we clean the bottom of tanks like nobody else. There are hundreds of people out there that stick a little hose down in there and pull a little water out and say, oh, we cleaned your tank. No, that's not tank cleaning. The guys who work with me, this is my son here. He's in the military right now, and come out of active. He's going to be on reserves. And the other gentleman is Ron Mashburn. Everybody that works for us, other than my son, are full-time hazmat Cobb County firefighters. Who do you want on your property? Who do you want out there? You want some El Cheapo guy? It's going to charge you a third of the price? We'll get into that later. But this, yes, ma'am, I believe it is. Yes, ma'am. And many of these you'll see are Prime's great customers out there. Yeah. They come in every form, and what do? They hold fuel. The little tiny ones, big 30,000 K tanks, little generators with little tanks, bigger generators with big tanks, huge generators with huge tanks. We got little containment tanks off to the side. Side out here that hold the fuel. Some of these tanks, as you know, are double walled. They've got sand or something, a medium in between it to keep your temperature variations down, which are great thoughts. Then you got the larger tanks. These are 2 10K tanks side by side. Cement encased tanks. A tank is a tank in a tank. That's Ron again. He is pretty though, isn't he? If you see him out there on a job, thank him for what they do, not just for what we do, but these guys are paramedics also. And so they're out there looking out for us. Tanks that are inside of buildings, tanks that are inside of buildings that are inside of buildings. Tanks that are shoved up against the wall because they didn't have any other room for them. Tanks that are in the hole in the wall and filled with sand in here. And this is one of that we cleaned in here. Tanks that are pushed back in a corner somewhere. What I'd like you to see on this tank is, this is when we started on this tank, cleaning it, the exterior of it. And when we finished, it looks like about a 63 Falcon, Ford Falcon in there. We polished it all up, make it look nice. This one we had to hire a contortionist to actually get up in there and help us clean this tank out. It was up in a little nook and cranny. Tanks in the holes in the ground. This is out back of the hospital, down in Case. This is a fantastic, because you can look all around your tank. You can see if you're having any problems on the exterior of the tank. Tanks that are down in pits, big tall tanks, small little tanks, humongous. These are 30K tanks. Big transportation company. Then a big one, big. I think it's like a 2 million gallon tank. But they all do one thing. They hold fuel. That's all they do. What you're concerned with is the quality of your fuel. This is before and after. And thanks for Ed, speaking first, and he's absolutely right. These were about 6 to 7 years old, these samples. They weren't particularly nasty as far as having particulate in them, but just older samples, and everything is coming out. Diesel, as I understand, and much of this stuff I'm telling you is I understand. It's not fact. If you got a fact, raise your hand and say, Wayne, you're full of it. This is what is. But diesel fuel in itself is a dirty fuel compared to gasoline, because there's so many more additives in it, and so many more chances for other additives. It's very philic. That means it loves things. Chances for other things to combine with it, whether it's water, as you said, wax build up in them, particulates that can sit and float very nice and easily, and hundreds of other things in diesel. Especially with all the things they're doing to diesel nowadays, they're taking things out, putting other additives in. It's just a chance for more degradation. And that was a real good point. Have your fuel, if you want to know how good your fuel is, have it tested, have the degradation test of it, see its stability and how long it's going to last. Diesel lasts a lot longer in storage than gasoline does, but it still has end points. And again, what do you want? You want to push that button and go on with your emergency. Another before and after. We told this customer, said, man, this fuel's so nasty and ugly that I don't know what we can do with it. You ought to toss it. Well, we filtered it and polished it and filtered it and kept going down in size. And I was amazed how it came out. It's just crystal clear. You could almost see the building behind it. And again, just exactly what Ed had said. What you find in these tanks, biogrowth, your water, fuel in the bottom, with your particulate in here that can be anything from metal to organic materials. I'll show you in a minute. You won't believe what we take out of these tanks. This probably doesn't pertain to you so much except for your car. And this is water that's been introduced into ethanol, E10 ethanol. And it happens. This is what you hear when they say, oh, well, it's phasing. And you go, what are you talking about? You have your water on the bottom, water alcohol, and then alcohol fuel, then the fuel on top. We've developed methods, and since all we do is clean tanks, it's not a little sideline for us. That's all we do. We're getting pretty good at it after almost 8 years. There are ways to deal with this that you don't have to take the entire load out, send it back for calibration if they're the terminal, and then bring it back. There are a lot of ways to deal with it where we're not lowering octane by very much to speak of or alcohol content. What I have here, I want to show you that every tank is different. These are diesel tanks. I'm going to show you 2 different shots. These are 4 tanks that sit side by side by side. Ideally, here's just out of a fill. And some companies will come in and you guys will tell your guys to go out, well, go sample out of that tank. They'll go to the fill and sample. Hey, boss, it's clean, it looks good. Okay, let's do it next time. Here's your fill sample right here. You can see the water in this, obviously. But then you went down under the TLS probe, the opposite end of the tank. Look, that's where all your dirt and garbage is down here. Here's another example. These are out of the same tank. These are 2 separate tanks, but they're side by side. Same delivery people, same age, same everything. But again, the samples are different. These 2 tanks sit right next to the other 2 tanks. What I would like to show you on here, ideally, and this is my understanding, that a tank should be tilted down toward the fill end, because that's where the water and garbage is supposed to settle, not down toward the pump end or the suction end. This one looks like it's tilted well. But if you look at these, this looks like the center of the tank has more than the other ends. Now, possibly every large tank in the bottom has a flat plate in it called a striker plate, and it can set 3/8 to a ½ inch off. This could possibly, be the reason for these on here. But with the sample thief, I try not to use the word bacon bomb too much this day and age, especially talking on a telephone. But sample thief, if you know what you're doing, you can let it sit down. You see how long they are? You can actually dangle it and wiggle it off the striker plate and get a true bottom sampling. Just another sample of tanks and what you get. Don't just sample one part of the tank. Go to the opposite end. Find out what's going on in different parts of the tank. 3 tanks sitting side by side. One's got nice clear, you can almost see through it. One's a reddish, a cardboard color, and this just dark, you can't see through it at all in the diesel, regular, and premium tanks. Every tank is different. An oil sample clinging to the bottom of the plastic sample bottle. There's nothing in diesel or gasoline that's inherent to cause oil to come out of this. This was either transported in there or some other way this oil gets in these tanks. It's not supposed to be there. Just another example, turn the sample over and the oil will cling to these petroleum bottles. This is what I mentioned a minute ago. The samples out of the fill ends, beautiful, gorgeous diesel samples. They're fantastic. Went down to the middle of the tank to the TLS probe, and it looked like 3/4 of an inch, ½ inch, 5/8 of an inch, and 1/4 inch of water, respectively. That's at the middle of the tank. So what's at the far end of the tank? So for years, this guy's been coming up and saying, hey, we got clean samples, our fuel's good, until they started having trucks with problems. They called us in, and we showed them this, and I go, oh. Chemistry, think chemistry is something you, just in high school, this is the bottom of a TLS probe. All this is a magnet. This magnet runs up and down this pole. There's actually 2 of them here. One is for water, to see how much water you have on the bottom. The other is your volume, how much volume you have, as you guys know. Tell me this on this magnet, a positive and negative side, how come, and this is my guess, Ed would probably know a lot better than I do. I'm guessing this is sulfur salts, maybe an oxalic salts, just converting over, and I believe, I've been wrong before, but the magnetic polarity has something to do with the chemistry in there. Ed's going, you're full of it, man. I never heard that before. Tanks are tanks to tanks. Large outside tank. A large outside tank, even if it's double walled, is going to go through more of a temperature variation than an inside tank. This one, the particular one, has a collar on it that sits up. And let me show you the next pictures. This is what happens out of your diesel. As Ed said, diesel holds more water than gasoline, depending on the variant temperatures. If it's 40 degrees outside and he just filled your tank up and the inside of the tank is 65 degrees, you're going to have a temperature variance. Or if it's 102 outside and the inside of the tank is 60 degrees, he puts it in there. This water is going to condense, and it condenses places. Notice it hasn't really condensed so much on the lower lip here, just on the upper lip, and then on the lid. Almost look like those, is it stalactites or stalagmites that hold down? One of them. But this is what happens, and this tank isn't that old. This is so obvious. Check your tanks. Have your guys go out and check your tanks. Sample them. Don't just stick them with a paste and go, oh, okay, well, it shows water, no water. The paste is almost an inexact science at best. And there's 3 good brands out there. But sometimes they do and sometimes they don't work well. Get a sample thief. Invest or have Prime Power come out. Take your sample. It's just, you're saving money. Your filters, this is another good indication. When we take filters off, we cut them open, we look inside of them. You want to find out what's in there. Here's something that went on at a very large company over in Mobile, Alabama, and this has to do with ULSD, ultra-low sulfur diesel. What we're finding, and we work for very large companies and have for years and years. We do Kroger, Quick Trip, Murphy Oil that is Walmart, Costco's. In every one of these large companies in different areas, say Murphy has a site this big from Oklahoma to Florida. Well, over here and maybe in Alabama, 2 or 3 sites are having this problem. Same with Kroger, same with Quick Trip, just a few sites, and they haven't figured this out yet. what's going on. But this ULSD, I took a sample of this. This is a chemist calling me. I was surprised at that, but we worked together with this. They called it pudding. It's the best word they can come up with. I took some of this sample and I air dried it for probably about a week. Then I cut little samples off of it and I would light them and burn them, and it looked just like paraffin. You see the little 3-colored flame with paraffin burns? It looked just like that. It didn't have the big orange or, when gasoline or diesel burns, but it looked just like a huge paraffin buildup. This stuff gets everywhere that you can imagine it sits, and it's driving these people nuts. A 2-way check valve inside of a dispenser. We cleaned the tanks. They go, God, Wayne, are tanks clean or not? We're still having troubles. And they start pulling the dispensers apart. They changed out the 2-way check valve and something inside the meter. It works great now. The functional head on top of this is my magnet on the bottom. It's a big, good checker. What it is, this stuff is causing an enormous corrosion. Now we get into what's inside your tank. That is not my backyard where the cable guy forgot to bury the thing. This is some of the things we find in here. I'm doing another show right now over at the Sheridan, and I've got a cell phone that one of my guys pulled out of a tank. My very best was a half a bunny suit in New York. A big company was having big troubles with theirs, and so we put a screen on the bottom of the fill tube, chicken bones. The driver was having a chicken dinner at nighttime and didn't know what to do with the bones, so he was putting them down the fill tube. This one, and I'm sorry we're doing this just for lunch. You probably don't need this, but I don't think the budget's real big for lunch, so you guys probably won't eat so much. Anyway, this is some of the other junk we find in here. The quarter is mine, just for size. I'm talking plastic, sticks, little curly cues, metal, caution tape from a police crime scene. I don't know. Other companies that come up to you and they'll have a little handful of something to go, oh, we pulled this out of your tank. My company goes in there, we pull out 5-gallon buckets of stuff and rags. Doug Cusimano from Quick Trip calls us the fishermen, because when other people can't get these rags out, my guys, I tell you, they're tenacious pit bulls. I'm looking at my watch going, Ron, we're on overtime. He's going, a little bit more, Wayne. I think I can get a little bit more out of this tank. These guys, they are really good. The proverbial petroleum rag. How do they get in there? You probably know as well as I do. The guy transporting stuff today, he's very prideful. He does not want any of this stuff to leak onto his beautiful truck. So I take these rags and a 4-inch line and stuff them in there so it doesn't leak out. And the next day he's sick or had an argument with his wife. He comes in and just puts his hose down there and floosh, there it goes into your tank. Rust. This is one of 3 5-gallon buckets we took out of a marina in Hilton Head. They couldn't understand why some of their boaters were having problems. Our samples are clean. We warned them that with this much rust, they probably need to get a lining or a bit deep inspection. The next 2 photos I want to show you again, tanks are all different. They're side by side. Both of these are regular, I beg your pardon, these are diesel tanks. This one and the next one. You see the big dirt clots on there? If you come from a big family, you know what a dirt clot is. You go out in the field and you could throw them, they wouldn't leave too big of a mark, and you couldn't get too much trouble. But this thing came out and just, the small stuff here, but just coagulated together, and this is after it's dried for a few days. And it's just huge clots. This is the tank right next to it. This stuff is like baby powder. You blow it and it goes. 2 tanks, identical fuel, right next to each other, 2 separate entities. Now we get into real gross stuff. Ed had touched on this. This is a lot of what keeps me in business nowadays. They're changing the fuels, and this stuff is just going exponential. This is microbial growth. They call it bacteria, they call it algae, they call it humbugs, they call it, I don't know what. To me, it's single-cell organisms that grow. They do 2 things. They eat the fuel, the hydrocarbons out of the fuel, and they eat the oxygen out of the water. And the other thing they do is excrete. And to my understanding, this excretion is mild acid. And there's your pitting inside, starting your pitting inside your steel tanks. I heard someone back said, well, I don't have a steel tank. I got fiberglass. This stuff, to my knowledge, does not eat fiberglass, but it does eat the polymer resin that holds the fiberglass together. It will etch and irritate that. We found that out one time when we were vacuuming the bottom of the tank. I thought it was a bird's nest I was pulling up, but it's too strong. It was fiberglass. And it just had come undone. The layering started to come undone in the tank. Sorry, guys. This is some more biogrowth. I'd never seen anything like this till early last year. This is like sheets of thin paper. This is the tank it came out of. And I've never seen anything like that. And I've seen lots and lots of biogrowth. This is just, I don't know, just another one of those things. That could probably explain it a lot better than I could. Here's what it looks like in a sample. And again, the fill and down at the other end of the tank, you see the probe end is the deeper end versus this end. Here's your growth. This one is one that puzzles me. It's a large company, and this company is shut down from 10 or 11 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning. All right, from what I see here, the fill end is the deep end of the tank. There's the water here. Here's the water on this end, the probe end of the tank. I'm sorry, not the submersible. They call it turbine or submersible end of the tank, the opposite end of the tank. This is the deep end of the tank. More water's down here. Why is the biogrowth down underneath the probe, underneath the submersible? Why is it collecting down there and not becoming homologous? Because it lives right between the water and the fuel. Why is it not homologous throughout the tank? Why am I finding it more and more down by the submersible end? When I do shows, I put this picture up with a $50 bill there. I've had a lot of PH doctors stop by and give me some very interesting theories. I haven't heard one that I thought washed yet, but there's some good theories out there. The point is, in my experience over these years, the garbage, the trash, debris, and the biogrowth tend to stay down toward the turbine end or the submersible end of the tank. So when they're pulling out a clean end of the fill, please check the other end of the tank. This is biogrowth in diesel. This is in a biogrowth in gasoline, just different. I don't know what the air pockets are. I don't know. Ed would know better than I do, or Shelley would. Is this CO2 that's being produced by the single cell organisms? I'm not sure, but I do notice it continues.
Excellent guess.
Good. Thanks, Ed.
Nice swag.
Not good. Just a round of wag of swag. Here's just a biogrowth again. I love close-ups. This stuff just growing and just loving it there. I do have some of these stills in the lobby for sale. When you got it. Methane, good. We send our stuff to Stavely. I have used small little test kits like this, but they're a hassle because you got to keep them in the refrigerator. They only last for a certain period of time, a year to 18 months. They expire, they're not good, and the expense is probably about the same as when I send my stuff over to Stavely. They're reasonable. This is after, like you said, after 3 days. You can just tell that the biogrowth is in there. This is a close-up of biogrowth. I've got enough ology classes in my lifetime and chemistry. I remember just enough to probably get myself in trouble, but I love the microscope, getting closer and closer and even closer. And this is what I see, and again, I'm open for interpretation. What I'm seeing here are single-celled organisms with a nucleus, and if you can see in here, what's called nucleolus, a smaller than the main center of the cell. And these things all they do is eat and excrete and grow. And why? Why is that in my tank? Some of it can be transported in there. That's why you test your tank. The guy that's hauling bulk crude today, tomorrow, he's hauling gasoline. The next day, he's hauling diesel. He's given money to wash his truck out, but even on a good washout, if you ever look down inside of a truck, it's not a really exact science, and little minute, parts of this stuff can come in here. But the other big reason is housekeeping. Wayne, why do I have water in my tank? I don't understand it. I said, well, sir, let me, come on out here, let me explain this to you. And this, it's housekeeping. This is the inside of that tank. This is the striker plate I described. This thing is 3/8 to 1/2 inch off the bottom. You can't see it, it's all covered up. with all this garbage that's been leaking in this tank for years and years and years. So this tank has a 30-year warranty, and it only lasts 15 years. It's not the manufacturer's fault. Housekeeping. Housekeeping. I go out there all the time. I don't understand it. How come? Housekeeping. They leave stuff in here. Mouse Engineering. Just rust and garbage. There's no reason for that. This is a particularly good seal unit for underground storage tanks. Beautifully designed. You can see right here that it's designed to take a rubber hammer. Once you get it on there in place and tap it a little bit to tighten it up, if it was put on properly, he wouldn't have this in here. They've got a nice light lid on here. Well, where's the rubber gasket that goes in there? Oh, we didn't have time. We didn't have time to tighten it up. We didn't have time to go get a $30 gasket. Come on. And I'm going to go out there and charge, 10 times that? That's up to you. I like my job, and I appreciate, all this. Again, just housekeeping. Keep water out of your system. Keep your system in good condition. To go in there and take this, this is the top of the submersible pump, and a piece of that comes up, so I can get down there and clean. Am I going to take this off? No, I'm going to have you come in there and have a tech come in there and take that off, because I know 9 out of 10 times I'm going to be breaking stuff trying to take that off. And it's going to cost a whole lot more money to repair that thing. Why not do it in the first place? And that comes to the last part of here. Who do you want on your property? You want to save thanks, I like that. Thank you. You want to save $100, $200 because the boss is on you, squeezing you. Say, no, we can't spend that. We can't spend that. Save the money. Fine. I met this guy, real nice guy. I'd probably have him work with us. I call this, I joke and say, 2 Yetis in a truck. He has good intention, this particular guy does. Little Briggs & Stratton engine. He's got this nice and safely tied down, and he's going to leave this 55-gallon drum on your property when he's finished. Nice little piece of equipment. I went up and talked to him, examined it, and I'm sitting there for a little while. He's pumping gasoline out of here. He's pumping fuel. He's got a generator over here, nice and heat. And this was a pretty hot day for the fumes to come over. He's texting his girlfriend. Who do you want? Who do you want on your property? Here's another. You probably saw this on Channel 2. This was last year. Here's a sample with water in it. Here's a sample without water in it. Let me ask one question. Why in the world would any sane person hold 2-quart glass jars of explosive flammable over cement? Who do you want on your property? Same Channel 2 news story. This is the gentleman they had out there. They had a dozen or so cars. He's pumping gasoline with a little hose into this 300-gallon tote by hand with his face over an 8-inch opening. You can tell. He's only 22. You can tell. Here's his rig, his truck, same show. He's got the little hose going down inside there, electric motor, the motor about as big as your hand, pumping this little thing, 20 gallons a minute. He did take and repair one of the frays here before the wire's sitting down in here. I wish it was sharper. You could see a nice big fray right here next to the metal bumper. Sitting over the gasoline. Would they save money having them out there? A little unit. Now, I call this a pocket, for pocket generators. Sometimes when you go into a closet that's on a second, third story or down in the basement, I can't take my huge equipment down there. I've got a huge truck and a huge trailer, and actually another one we're working on, I'll show you in a minute. This is for the little pocket generators that you can't get anything else to. This is certainly not for a 1,000 or 2,000 gallon tank. You don't just stick a hose in one end, a hose in the other, goes, oh, well, we're going to filter your fuel for you. Especially with this little tiny spin-on filter here. They do have their uses, but I promise you, this is not what they're for. This is for maybe your gas tank or something like that, not for a 5,000 gallon tank. This is what you want. These are 2 of my guys, Big John and Little John. Big John left us not long ago. He's in the Air Force making something out of himself. He's also a professional fighter. Good, but one of those guys that like a teddy bear. Just super, super guy. Strong, unbelievably strong. That Big John, yeah, Little John, that's my son. He's a pretty little bad guy too. He wanted to be a SEER instructor, but he's decided to go into the reserves, and he's going to go into a fuel specialty in the Air Force. He's actually in the Air Force right now. This is my guys and my crew out here. This is Ron Mashburn and Scott Longshore, both paramedic, hazmat, full-time firemen, and I'm blessed enough to have them working on our projects out there. They're tenacious bulldogs, but when I send them to Atlanta or Miami or Houston, I know it's done right, and I know it's done safety. As I told a gentleman in here a while ago, I spent 2 or 3 years with this. You go into a company and they've got this big motto or mantra up there, we are the da-da-da from this, da-da-da-da-da. I had a beautiful one written out. I was so proud of it. I was going to frame it. I go, and it went in a round file. There's 4 words on our motto: safety and customer satisfaction. That's all we're about, and I believe that's what Prime Power is about also. Any questions that I can answer?
You work any work overseas?
No, sir, not yet. We try and stay small. I'm not a huge company. I stay for a reason. I'm 60 years old, and I still got my hair, and it's not all gray yet. I tell people, I jokingly say, I only work a half a day now, 12 hours. You know, it's cut down on there, but you know how business is. We have enough good, loyal customers that keep us busy.
What do you do with your waste?
I live right by Altoona. It doesn't hurt to fish at all. No. No, we go to, like so many people, they go to Aquaterra out on I-20, exit 88. Great recycling plant, good people out there, and they're real serious about what they do with the waste. Yeah.